Okay. FOG Andrew here, coach here from Family of Gamers. Welcome, Board Gamers, to an exciting, awesome interview. We're going to be interviewing the man, the myth, the legend, Graham Davey. Thank you, Graham, for being here.
Hi, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man, this has been we've been trying to, well, not trying, but we've been wanting to talk to you for a while because anybody who's a fan or have seen some of our videos, we've done a lot of Test of Honor, and it is definitely one of our top games that we love to play. So, yeah, this is an incredible treat for both of us. So, I guess we'll get to it. So Graham, for anyone in the universe who's been under a rock for the past 10 years, doesn't know who you are, you want to just give us the usual quick synopsis and we'll get through it?
Yeah, okay. Well, I worked for Games Workshop for 14 years. I was a White Dwarfer for quite a long time when Paul Sawyer was the editor. I worked on the Lord of the Rings part work that Games Workshop did, and then I moved back into the design studio and worked on lots of codexes and the first Apocalypse book and lots of other cool stuff there. After that, I ended up at Warlord Games, where I started to get into historical stuff. And after leaving there, I spent a year setting up a new games company called Room 17, which we were doing board game and Kickstarters. And from there, I leapt right into Grade for Now Games, which I set up in order to take over the publication of Test of Honor, which is a whole other story, how we got to that point.
Right. Yeah, it was weird because I know that you started with Warlord. Originally Test of Honor was a Warlord game, and then you took over, and all, I remember reading on Facebook you were saying, well, it was time to cut ties, and it seemed like you guys, it was good handshake, and then everybody went their separate ways. But then everybody was like, oh man, somebody pissed somebody off, or somebody, there's a war going on at Warlord. And I was just like, I can understand where you were coming from. You went to do your own thing, and there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think.
Well, yeah, it did get a little bit complicated. So me and Andy Hobday kind of came up with the game, created the game while we were there, just in our spare time, and it out of the blue. Warlord came into possession, got a license for loads of plastics from War Games Factory, which included all the samurai plastics. So they wanted a vehicle to help them sell those. So they asked us if they could use our game, which we were absolutely, that's a brilliant idea. It gets us our game published, fantastic.
Right.
So I did a lot of work kind of rewriting the game to make it work for publication, and it went really well. The initial print run sold out just before it even launched. In fact, I had to print a load more very fast, so it ended up being pretty popular. Everyone seemed to like it, which is great. Then I would say a year or two later, both Andy and I, by that point, had left Warlord quite amicably. We both had our own games companies by that point, and because the arrangement we had with Warlord allowed us to end the arrangement. We said we'd like to do that, please, which meant we took the brand essentially, and that's how second edition came about. So that's the point that I set up a new company in order to publish second edition. So at that point, we got all the new artwork, rewrote the longer rule book, and that was a hell of a lot of work, obviously, because it's essentially a one-man company for me. So massive learning curve, working out how to do everything. A lot of help from Andy and the guys at Footsore, and we managed to launch it, and that's where we've got to now, really. So since then, I've managed to get out some more expansion sets, and lately the new book, the Sengoku book. That's the one.
That's the one. Well, I got to tell you, you want to talk about how we got introduced to Test of Honor. So we're at Adepticon. I don't remember the year because I've been kicked in the head a lot, but it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Do you remember?
Something like that.
So it was about 5 years ago. We're walking around, we get to the Warlord table, and they had Gates of Antares and Pike and Shot, and then I see this game with Samurai, and I'm online to take a demo, and we're standing in line, and he turns to me and he goes, you're probably going to buy this game, right? I says, I'm buying it, just going to buy it. But I want to do the demo to see how it plays. So I sit down, I play it, we fall in love with it. We go up there and it eludes me, but the head honcho of Warlord was there, and I was speaking to him, and I said, yeah, you know what? This is great. The miniatures are great. He says, oh, well, these two guys wrote it, and War Games Factory did the plastics. We had these beautiful plastics. We're really happy that you're getting it. And I said, so, doing the transaction, he goes, this is the first day it's out. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, no, this is, this Thursday is the day we're releasing the game. We're releasing it here and in England. So I like to say that I am the first person to ever buy Test of Honor. and then since then, and then come a year later, they had a tournament, which I won. So and then they haven't had one since. So as of now, I can honestly say that I am the North American Test of Honor champion. So,
fantastic.
And I walk out undefeated. But although Andrew's been trouncing me in the last few battle reports,
yes, true.
so it's good. But so where did I know I spoke to Andy about it a little bit, and he alluded to it, but we were focusing more on Mortal Gods, but he kept going back to Test of Honor. Where did the idea for you could I don't know how you say, I want to make a game and I wanted to do this. Like, how did Test of Honor come about?
Well, I'm dredging my memory because it's quite a few years back now. As I recall, I think Andy just randomly said one. I mean, me and Andy were working in the same office for Warlord. We worked on the website, the web store, and he just said one day that he'd quite like to have a samurai game, and it immediately got my cogs turning. We both loved the samurai movies, particularly. So it was always inspired by that really cinematic feel rather than necessarily completely historical. And I just started tinkering around with some mechanics, particularly the very first thing that I came up with was this idea that you would charge but not be stuck in combat, so you would immediately attack, but then attack someone else and then attack someone else. Just completely inspired by that kind of idea from the films where the samurai swirling around fighting 5 guys at once. So that kind of key mechanic was the very, very first thing that I came up with, and everything else kind of grew around that.
You know what it is. I noticed that Test of Honor does have a lot of different mechanics than, say, other games. Like I really like what you said, where you get into it and then depending on the role, either one goes back and you're not locked in combat.
Yeah.
I know we play some other games where you get some little crap unit that's worth like maybe 10 points and it's a 200-point unit, and now you're locked in combat, and depending on dice rolls, it doesn't really matter because you're going to be stuck for 5-6 rounds in that combat. I like that whole if you draw, let's say, a samurai token, he gets in, pushes the guy back, and now it's like, well, I'm going to try to attack this guy. Okay, great, I'll take a test and move over here. That's a fantastic mechanic.
Yeah, it's that fluid combat which was really, really important to me. Really, that was all right from the start. That was the kind of one of the key pillars of the game.
Mm-hmm. It's great because you see, I could see Mifune cutting a guy down, say in his leg, and he starts to stumble off, finishes off this guy, and then come back and finish the guy with the hurt leg. It just it goes the whole Kurosawa feeling to it, which is fantastic.
And then the other kind of key thing that built into that was the idea of the people that you're playing with being characters rather than just a historical military force. So it was when we were first playtesting, we had mainly kind of unarmored samurai, and we kind of imagined your kind of main character and his two mates traveling around Japan and just hiring whatever troops he needed for each battle. And it was very much that idea of almost a film script with the main characters and the extras who were there to die. So we lost that a bit because we had to use the plastics that came in the box, and they were obviously all very military style, all armored. So that when we got to second edition, that was one of the big things that I wanted to get back to, and that's why we did the Unlikely Allies box, which was all about those interesting different characters that you can imagine just being right out of a film.
Right. Yeah, that was the first time where you could take a troop that actually had a name to him. He wasn't like a veteran Ashigaru or like that. You take the blacksmith, or you could take the monk, the priest. So that was very exciting. That was the first one out of the gate, right? That was the version 2, yeah. Because I remember getting the whole set, and that came with it, and also the other miniatures that came out with it. The guy with the man catcher and the sensei, with the katana, all those miniatures. It was a nice. I like that whole package foray into version 2, and then the bigger dice came in really handy because my hands are hard. It was hard to get those little white dice. But you want to give a shout out to whatever's going on with these
with the guys in the chat?
Yeah. So we got a few guys.
We got Chris Cassidy, Christopher McTaggart, and Derek Hodge, and Artie Tabletop Studios are in the chat saying hello. And Christopher does say best game ever, which I think we can both agree.
We could agree on that.
Yeah.
So
thanks, guys.
And if anybody has any questions, just throw them in the chat. Andrew will grab you. Now's the time to ask Graham because he's here. So instead of waiting on Facebook, which we usually have our interaction with Graham. But so Graham, there's a few things I wanted to ask. Basically, it was a love of the samurai period to make a game for this. But what I want to do is really talk about, I guess, Sengoku, because that was the time 1407 to 1603 was the real. That's where you get all that good fighting samurai. Then the Edo period, it kind of teetered off, and then we went into the Meiji Restoration, and that was where it was kind of the death of the samurai at that point. But the ideas behind the Sengoku book, it's really not. This is not version 3. It's more of you wanted to get some stuff done, and it came out in the Sengoku book. So what was the, why come out with the Sengoku book when version 2 is so good? That's
well, as you say, it's not meant as a new edition at all. It's just an extra layer of detail and fun and stuff that you can do, more options for you to add to the game if you want. A big part of it is the history. So in the main rule book, there was practically no history, or like a single page, I think, that we managed to squeeze in. And to be honest, that when we first wrote the game, it was Andy who knew all the history. I did the game, and Andy was the history guy. And then over the years, I've learned more about it. And for this book, I did a lot of research, and just discovering all these amazing stories about all the stuff that happened, kind of the political upheaval and betrayals, and individual incredibly brave acts, and backstabbing on one side and amazing honor on the other side. It's just fascinating when you get into it. So I wanted to put that into the book because it felt kind of was missing a bit from the first book. And then the idea of giving each clan their own separate rules. It's something that quite a few people had mentioned or asked about at various times, and it got to a point where I had enough cool ideas to be able to do that. I've tried to do it in, it's, although the core mechanics of the game are very simple, once you add on your skills and everything else that's going on in the game, that there's a fair bit to remember. So I've tried to do it in such a way that you only have to worry too much about the Sengoku rules when you draw that new token.
Right.
So you haven't got a load more mechanics layered on. You just need to think about it at that point in the game when you draw the token, and then you can move on. But kind of teasing out the individual rules, pulling out the character for the different clans was a lot of fun. And then it allowed us to add in all the new scenarios and new weapons, and it's just kind of giving you loads more stuff to go at, and a kind of a toolkit for me in the future as we move on to doing more models and different sets. Gives me more options about models I can do. So if I can do models kind of flinging a chain around, or flaming arrows, things like that. All these are useful things to give me new products in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, the clan, we really love that aspect of the clan. I was asking you for years on you were asking about that, and I kept asking about the Yagyu because I did Yagyu Shinkageru, even though in Lone Wolf and Cub they were the bad guys, but I don't know why, but I took that for years, and then when you made the clan, because of their style of swordsmanship, they have a clan token that's one of their proficiencies is with the katana. Yeah. So I ran it with everybody had a katana, and but it was easy. It was an easy transition because it was just basically, all right, you're going to add this one thing. And I think if anyone's watching and they're doing this, what we did to make it very easy for ourselves, instead of using the book, I just downloaded it off the site. We cut them up and laminated them. So now we have the cards out. Yeah. And, so it's like, which proficiencies did we pick and that. And then also now with the allies, adding allies, that's actually very, very cool. Where now the game is getting bigger, like more. I mean, I want to run 30 guys on each side. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But I think that was a really good addition, right? Didn't we? That was that also. The honor and dishonor is just, I know that was from version 2, the beginning, but man, I will dishonor every time. I don't think I've ever picked up an honor card, right?
It's the phone.
Yeah,
Well, it's the fun thing about the clans is it kind of says quite a lot about you as a person, doesn't it? Which ones you choose.
But in life, I'm not like that. But in the game, I'll just pick dishonor all the time.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who always picks up, like, somebody throws a can on the floor. I always pick it up and throw it out. Like I'm one of those guys. But you've let me open the dark side to my Shinken Chogo on the table.
I confess I'm the same. I love a sneaky backstabbing style of play.
all the time.
Always more fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Guys will run away with a test of courage, but that's okay. No problem.
I do want to say one thing. I've been playing a lot of board games recently, like, obviously like smaller scales and stuff like that. And I get, I've been kind of getting addicted. And when they come out with expansions, I think it's a great idea because it makes the game fresh. And I love especially how this is an expansion to Test of Honor. We're gonna do a video on it, but it really is a great book. It really is, because it just makes Test of Honor, which is already great, like into like it's like a whole fresh new take on it, So like this book is a pretty good expansion to Test of Honor, and I like how it's not version 3. Like I appreciate that, But
yeah, I think that would have been very unpopular if I tried to do a version 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's loads more stuff to explore, and it takes you. I think for me, it's very much more of a storytelling game than a very hard tournament style game, and it's just giving you more tools and more options to try all that stuff out. I mean, all the 20 scenarios. It was just exploring all these great stories that you can easily pull out of the history. Each one is kind of inspired in some way by one of the clans. Some of them are directly taken from specific battles, and some of them are just more generally about the clan's character. But they're just lots of fun. They're not meant to be super highly balanced, and particularly the surprise attack scenarios where you're sneaking through the night trying to take out the other side. You could well need 2 or 3 times to work out how to make that work for you when you're attacking. There's loads of ways to do it. You can try and set fire to a building to draw the defenders in one direction, or just go in all guns blazing, or try and sneak your way around. There's lots of ways to come at all these things. So it's almost like some of them are like a little puzzle to try and work out how on earth you can win this scenario.
Yeah, well, just play against me, and if you're the attacker, you'll win, because obviously I can't defend against him, whatever, And then he keeps getting who are you running? Masahiro, right?
Yeah.
And he just kept following up, and he followed up and killed every. Oh god, it was like a chaining of events. It was terrible. He was at the time, he was Mufuni, and he was taking care of business. So, but what else we wanted to ask you? The addition of the new missions is really fun. The only bad thing is that you keep making these cool missions with like different scenery and stuff. So I got to print and paint them. So now I have a whole, I think 3 or 4 Japanese villages that I could actually live in with all the terrain that I've printed. But it's very cool that we're up to the next video. We have one coming out where that was the attacker and defender, which we used cannons.
Oh, wow.
So that was well, just I don't want to ruin it, but I did roll too many crosses and it didn't go the way I wanted to. But in addition to that, that's cool. But then using like waterways or using the buildings, like some of the objectives are outside, but also inside the building, and you can light the building on fire. The different arrows to do that. That's really. I thought that was just like you said, adding it to the flavor of Test of Honor. I thought that was fantastic. So yeah. Did you want to ask him about the? Andrew's been having this question since version 1. So
all right. I've been having a little trouble with muskets. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know why. I cannot get them to work for me. I don't know why. And I thought I took like a pretty good list. Like I took Oda, I took the Ronin Marksman, I took a Sergeant in Gunnery, and then some musketmen. And I was like, it's kind of like it's the perfect. I feel like that was like the perfect musket list.
And you also took I'm sorry, you took the Oda clan, which helped with muskets for the clan.
So I just. Do you have any tips for muskets? I couldn't get them to work for some reason.
But I will say though, it's not Graham's fault that you always fail the test of wits.
That's true.
That's not Graham's fault. So you'll get a pass.
The best tip is roll your dice better. I mean, they are more of an all or nothing weapon, aren't they, compared to a bow. I think, well, when I use muskets, I do consider them a kind of, because they're not far off as good as anyone else in combat. So I wouldn't necessarily think that I'm going to just focus on firing them the whole time. They should always get one good shot off at the very least, but not necessarily count on being able to shoot loads of times in the game. They may just need to get stuck in and wallop people around the head with the butt of their gun. Right. Of course, we have the I don't know if you've seen the heavy muskets in the books. I've got some. Probably, I think they're going to be out next month. So I've got a blister of those about to hit the store quite soon. So that'll give you. I mean, to be fair, they're even more or nothing because you have to stand still. But they're higher strength. But you have to stand still. But there's also some useful cards in the set there, which will apply to all your different musket troops. So that's going to give you some more different options as well. So that's one to look out for next month.
All right. Well, I guess I gotta try out heavy muskets then and see.
I think
how that works.
It's five damage on those guys, right? So,
but I mean, I think I'd be wary of just min-maxing your force too much and really relying on one troop type. That would be my sensible advice. Would be I would always go for a balanced force because you never know what you need to do in the scenario, what's going to happen, what the terrain is going to be. And I would always try and have a bit of everything personally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'll try. I'll try that next time. I did take masked men with in that list. I took two groups of masked men, And then we also took the cannons in that game. And if you're watching this, make sure you stay tuned because that'll be the next battle report coming out. So,
Excellent.
Yeah, just don't expect my cannon to be a sniper. I'm just letting you know with that. So, but really, Graham,
I did good with cannons.
3 inches. You know,
Mhm.
I was shooting over here, and it ended up going far right.
I do want to say something. The cannons were fun and they were hilarious.
Yeah.
So they were really fun to play. That's all I'm going to say because you guys.
Well, I look forward to seeing it. I mean, they're really designed for shooting at buildings. To be fair. So,
oh yeah. Well, if the cannonball hits the building, what happens inside is fantastic. That's that's.
I mean, they're certainly not. I mean, that's why they're not something you can just freely add to your force. You need to kind of use them in agreement because clearly your kind of wandering samurai is not going to be traveling around Japan dragging a massive great cannon with him.
Yeah.
It's be a pretty unusual battle where you actually have a cannon. So. So yeah, they're obviously more intended for some kind of specific scenario where you're trying to batter down a fortress or something. That's where they're going to come into their own.
And that was that like an add-on? Because I remember you were saying the way I read in the book was kind of like, I don't think like you said the samurai would be dragging it around, but if you want to play it, here it is. It just.
Yeah, it was literally just there's a few people had painted some cannons up on Facebook, and I thought, yeah, cool, I'll do some rules for it.
Yeah. Well, the way we came about to play it was we were doing a 24-point game, and we're like, you know what? Why don't we just add a cannon to it and make it a 30-point game? And we just did it like that. It was, I think that's a way to do it. Like, we were doing the next mission, next game, and then we're like, hey, you know what? Why don't we just take cannons? And instead of reducing 6 points, we just added it like, here's the force, but both forces have a cannon. Yeah. Just as, because it is a lot of points to take. You could take 2 sets of Yari, Ashigaru, or you could take another samurai hero, whatever. So, that's the way we did it, and it worked out really well, like a list plus. And I think that's a good little twerk that can help, because you might not take the cannon, but to take it just for shits and giggles, it really was a lot of fun.
Well, that's really the whole idea with the allies in the Sengoku book is, of course you can take your 24-point force and say, oh, those 3 guys are the allies, but really the idea is to give you a chance to add on another 6 points.
Right.
Paint up some new guys, maybe come up with a different color scheme, choose one of the other clans, and it's a chance to it's a hint for you to paint up a few more guys, really.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm at the point now. I have 4 clans, different colors and whatnot, and I like to also thank Derek. Sent me some the Mon. He prints them up. Derek, we're gonna we have a review video. It's going to be out next week, but so he did that, and I have four clan Mon, and I'm like, all right, now I need 4 distinct clan colors, and so it's not only getting Sengoku with the clans, it's made me think about, all right, so now to look on the table different, I want to have at least 4 colors of clans, which I think, I mean, I can interchange or whatever, but at least one main clan and then an ally. And then the next game I could do, let's say, black and green. So next one, the green would be the regular guys and the black would be the allies. And then you can mix and match just to make it colorful on the table. But the book has made me, in my hobby, expand my horizon to include more stuff. And the battlefields will look different. Not the old, there's just a few buildings and this and that. Now I'm putting water in, more trees, mountains, whatever. It really expanded as far as the hobby is concerned. just made me go down different rabbit holes. And
Yeah.
you know, and it's funny now that my printer's off now because we're interviewing you, but the second we get off, I'm putting it right back on because I'm making a tea house. So, you know,
Fantastic.
yeah, more and more. But we got a few more guys popped in.
Yeah. We got Johnny Grogan is here.
Johnny's the man.
We got
Fabrice.
Fabrice from France. Hello. And we do have some questions. Should we get into the questions now, or should we wait a little bit?
You want to just wait? I got a few more questions.
Okay.
All right. So now the real thing is, I'm going to ask you what you're working on. I guess we'll save that till the end. But I know that you're doing. What would you call it, Graham? In the old days, you would sculpt it, but now you do it on the computer, like digital sculpting. I heard you're getting into that now. So how's that going?
It's going really well, actually. I really enjoy it. I just kind of taught myself essentially in lockdown. Yeah, I'm really taking to it. I think it's going quite well. So these heavy muskets will be the first models that I've designed myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on a whole set of Ashigaru and some more samurai, which hopefully about later this year. So yeah, it's slow. I'm quite sure that the professional sculptors go about 10 times faster than I can do it. But I've put in a lot of hours in the evenings because it's quite relaxing and I enjoy it. And I think the results coming out quite well. The doing it digitally, it's certainly the only option for me. I certainly wouldn't have the finesse to do manual sculpting. It's just too small and fine. But on screen, to be honest, the hardest part is remembering how small things are actually going to be. You do a little change on screen and you print it out a few days later and you can't even see what you did because it's so tiny. Right. You have to make sure all the detail is really big and chunky for it to actually transfer onto a tiny little figure in the end. So that's the real trick, is to kind of get your head around what looks enormous on the screen is going to be really very, very small when you get to it.
Yeah, that's, you know what, I it makes sense too, because I would rather do it on the screen because I can't imagine sculpting at a at that size. Just and then
that's just mind-boggling how people do that.
And how to fix a mistake
is massive.
Yeah, and if you make a mistake on the screen, it's easy, but if you make a mistake on the sculpt, it's tough. But
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And I can just essentially copy and paste. I can make a gun or a sword or whatever, and just copy and paste it to the next model. So it's compared to having to try to make all those individually or at least cast them up. Digital is the way to go for me, certainly.
Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah, and also too, that works out good because if you're writing rules for a certain weapon or a certain character, you could just, instead of waiting for someone else to make it, you make it yourself, and then that would probably streamline the process of you getting a certain model and rules out.
I don't know about streamlining because I'm really slow,
right?
And that's the thing with when I say it's a one-man company, it's literally me putting things in boxes. I mean, Footsore do my casting for me, but then I get a massive bag of 50 models, which I have to sort through, put in blisters, put in boxes, collating all the cards, putting them in bags, counting out the right number of bases, all the accounts and doing the orders and the web store. There's a lot to do. And then I'm trying to fit in the creative stuff as well. I'm writing new rules and doing sculpting in the evenings, and so while it's a lot of fun doing the sculpting myself, it just adds on even more hours that need to be done.
But it's good though, because so now everybody knows that everything that you get for Test of Honor has passed through Graham's hands, and you've embodied your samurai spirit into it. So
absolutely,
it's not a typical war game from a big company. It's up close and personal, and the spirit of Graham is in every page and every card. So that's okay. So, but yeah, we got a bunch of people here asking questions. So I know, like I said, I talk too much, but Chris, go play after this. Go play with your daughter. He says his daughter's begging him to play Test of Honor. So Chris, do the right thing. So, but all right,
right there.
Where I don't know.
Derek asks if we're gonna get Test of Honor Mythic, and he says please.
There are no plans currently, at least, to do anything mythic, mainly because there's already games that do that. So while Test of Honor isn't super historical, because it's call it cinematic rather than historical, I probably would never go into demons and dragons and things like that. That said, I'm quite open to kind of mystical kind of things. So so if someone believes you're a witch and that you have powers, then you have some kind of power over that person. In the same way that kind of religious belief can have a game effect without that being fantastical in any way. That becomes a real thing because people believe in it. So I would certainly be happily dabble into, what's the power of your the spirits of your family kind of being with you on the battlefield. That kind of thing. I think that would be fine to include in the game, but probably not as a model of a ghost or anything. I wouldn't go that far.
Right. I think what people are saying, like Oni, Tengu, stuff like that, because I know like you said, other games do that. But I remember long ago on a Facebook post, you were like, well, this is a more warrior versus warrior game as opposed to a mythical game. So I guess that's, but I get, what, we've always done it where we've played games and we've gotten together with friends and said, okay, well, Test of Honor is a historical game, but I'm going to bring 4 demons and I'm going to do this and we're just going to have some fun and roll some dice. So you could basically do whatever the hell you want. That's the way we've always done things.
Yeah, that is absolutely the attitude that I've always encouraged. Use whatever model you want, invent whatever house rules you want. If you want to add in Oni and stuff into your games, then come up with rules and do it. Absolutely. I'm very easy. I'm not precious about it at all.
Right. A few guys have done it online too. They've done the cards and seen that. So yeah, I mean that's one thing. The Test of Honor community on Facebook is very, very lively and active. So it's always a lot of good ideas on there.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. And getting back to the one thing I wanted to ask. I know Test of Honor was my first foray into a historical game. I was always playing more sci-fi games and things like that. And then, then I started Test of Honor kind of brought me to Mortal Gods and getting into the historical games. But is it a big deal to you? because I remember when version 1 was still out, and there was a few guys, and I'm not going to say, I don't even remember names, but that sort of guy where it's like, well, Graham, you can't do this because they were their their bogu was up to here, but now you have them up to here, and historically it's not that. Is it like I don't get caught up in that. And also when I paint my guys, I have like, I'm painting my clans, I'm really painting them colors that I thought would look cool. And I remember I posted a few pictures, and one guy started lambasting me like armor was never this color and that and this and that. I'm like, well, this is kind of like the DC universe. I'm using an alternate samurai planet. How's that? And I'm going to paint them whatever freaking color I want. But, there is a, how do you feel? Like, do you go for a historical base and just kind of do what you want to do? Or, do you get caught up in that? I mean, I don't think you do, but, how do you feel about that?
I know that people have their own approaches to wargaming, and I try and I'm very accepting to all those approaches, and they're all valid. If you like to be super historical with your wargaming, then great. If you just treat it as a gaming exercise, and these happen to be the playing pieces which have samurai swords, then that's the other end of the scale. Most people are somewhere in the middle. So yeah, it's all valid. It's your own choice about how you like to play.
Right.
And yeah, the only time I would have a problem, if, like you say, if people are trolling each other on Facebook about doing it wrong, there's certainly no wrong approach.
Right. Yeah, I've always thought just do whatever you want. I mean, but if you're going to play Test of Honor with tanks, well, that's really on you. You could do that, but it's really not what the game was made for. But you could. Who cares? Really, you play with your toy soldiers any way you want. Yeah,
totally. I mean, people have, like you say, have added in demons and stuff. So there was a guy who had a Godzilla model, who introduced Godzilla into his Test of Honor game and wrote rules for that. Brilliant.
That sounds awesome.
And equally, if the people who are doing, trying to do super accurate clan armies, that's fantastic as well. It's just whatever you enjoy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what happens is with a lot of games is like you put out this book, and it's like, all right, I want to do all some other stuff, and you're saying, all right, we'll go do it. But I think people, if it's not in the rule book, they don't want to play it. You know what I mean? There's some kind of stigma to that. And we're just like, we're going to roll dice and we're just going to have fun. And if it works, it's great. And if not, well, we spend an afternoon hanging out and rolling dice. And, I mean, he's not old enough yet, but, we have a few beverages and, and just have, have fun. He always comes down when a bunch of us get together, and he's like, you're only in the first round. You've been down here for 4 hours. Yeah, but it takes 3 hours to kind of hang out and get set up and just talking and, socializing and stuff. So, and then the game is just a vehicle for that. So I think, although, like when we get into it, it's cutthroat. I want to win. I don't care. He was never like that. Now he's starting to become like cutthroat like that. But it's really the fellowship of just hanging out and we're going to get together and watch a game. All right, we're going to get together and play a game. It's just that. I mean, you should be able to do whatever the hell you want because, I spent the money, I bought the stuff, and I'm going to play it any way I want to. Yeah. So.
I mean, and I think particularly the way we work, the way you choose your force, just allowing anyone to take whatever they want, any kind of mix.
Right.
That really pushes you towards, well, it does. The whole point is it doesn't push you in a particular direction.
Right.
It allows you to, emphasizes that you can do whatever you want. If you want to take that historical fighting military force of just our Ashigaru and samurai, then great. If you want to do something that's more inspired by a film or just some story you've come up yourself, or you want to have some of your characters are demons, who cares? Just go for it.
Yeah. I mean, because Chobi wasn't in the Oda clan, but I put him in the Hojo clan. Who cares? Just put him wherever you want,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's if people are nervous about coming up with their own rules or just don't have the time, it's very easy to just count one thing as something else. So, Chobi's a good example because he's very hard to kill and big and strong. So if you need some rules for an Oni, then use the Chobi rules.
Unless you're playing against him.
Yes. Then it'll go horribly wrong.
Yeah, oh my God. I couldn't roll to save my life on that. But yeah, I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad because that's the way we feel, and it's the same mindset that we have that you have. So, but basically, it comes down to stats and then rolling the tests. That's the vehicle. Other than that, you can go wherever you want. So, we got a bunch of questions here that let's see. Well, Christopher, we kind of answered that question because he was saying going back to the mystical and using Emerald Empire, but if you don't have Legend of the Five Ring models, would be just get it from Gray, right? With Graham's Samurai Spirit into it. So yes. All right, let's keep going down here. Ready? I'll do that one.
Yeah.
Good.
Derek says he's not convinced that bandits and other bad guys should suffer any bad effects from doing dishonorable things. Backstabbing would be something to admire in a bandit leader, I'd have thought.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Rather than making it just something, I mean, it would break the rule too much just to give them bonuses for it, I guess. But they do have lots of skill cards and things you can get which give you benefits for having dishonor cards. So that's kind of a nod to what you're talking about and how we approached it.
But you could house rule that, if he does a backstab.
If you want, that'd be a big advantage for them. But yes.
Yeah, why not? You backstab and you pull an honor card instead of a dishonor card. It's not a big deal. So yeah, do Derek, do it. Play your game your way, bro.
Yeah.
Chris has got that's a good question.
Chris says, if the terrain is too tight, is it expectable to unbase group models as long as they are touching them when open area, recombine them?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not a game that it's never intended as a tournament game, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always been a game where you're expected to use your honor and come up with sensible ways of and agreeing with your opponent. So if it makes sense to take them off the base, just because I know that, like you say, there's a gap in a gate which isn't big enough for the three guys to go through. Yeah, they probably go a bit slower because it might take them a bit longer to squeeze through altogether. But yeah, sure, take them off. Why not?
I was thinking more also like an alleyway, like between houses or something. They would go single file through there, but maybe instead of one, take off 2 inches or whatever, or just make it to the other side. That's like, but that's what you were saying. It's like an in-game thing. Like, all right, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to get a 2-inch penalty. So instead of 6, I'll move 4. So
yeah, I mean, when I play, we, that kind of stuff happens all the time, with the kind of attitude to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're trying to kind of change the rules to get an advantage and win the game, then that's not on. But if it's just something sensible, like as you say, it's a narrow alleyway, obviously they're going to be able to fit down. There's there's no way you say, oh, those 3 guys can't get down the alleyway. That'd be ridiculous. So as long as you're not trying to cheat by doing it, then of course, why not? Just come up with something sensible and get on with the game.
Derek says that I'm not the only person who can't get muskets to work. Chris says, thank you, Graham, for all of his boxes. Chris asks, what other new models do you have coming, I guess, besides the heavy muskets, if you have anything planned?
Lots of plans, yes. So yeah, heavy muskets will be next quite soon. They're literally they're all cast, so they're very, very imminent. Then I'm going to do essentially a starter force, a starter set. So I've been sculpting lots of Ashigaru and with different weapons and new samurai. So I'm going to put all those into a box. So essentially for new players, can have exactly what they need for that first battle in the main rulebook.
Yeah, because we don't have like the original Test of Honor box. That's not
exactly. So when we first did 2nd edition, pretty much all the players had the old plastics, so they'd had 1st edition, and we already had footswords range was available, so we concentrated on other things like the Unlikely Allies and the Sohai and stuff. So now seems like the right time to go back and kind of fill in that gap. So doing the kind of the basic, not really basic, but the Ashigaru, and having that actually in the Test of Honor range, and there'll be some cool new cards go in there as well, which hopefully will tempt people to buy the set. And then longer term, I have a plan to do essentially, if you imagine the Unlikely Allies set, except all baddies. So kind of the flip side of that. So a set of characters, maybe Ronin and bandits and maybe a ninja. I don't know. Haven't worked out all the plans, but essentially another kind of very, very characterful set full of villains and baddies.
That's cool. What do you want to read? Because I could put it up on the thing.
I guess you want to do the ninjas thing.
Okay. Yep. Boom. Look at that.
All right. So Fabrice said that he's playing with ninjas, and he says it's very difficult to win. Smiley face. We haven't played with ninjas yet, but I'm kind of dying to play with ninjas. As long as they're not, as hard as muskets are. But
well, they're expensive, so you have generally have a smaller force. They are skewed to fighting in night battles, so they'll be at a slight disadvantage in the day and a slight advantage in night battles. So they will work when you start to play more, the night battles, the surprise attack battles where you're trying to sneak around. That's where they excel. They might not be so hot on just a standard stand up and fight kind of game.
So it's a different tactic of just running across the battlefield. You got to be a little bit more finesse to it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, it's about
this one next.
Telling the right story with them. I would say. I would never approach this as a set of tournament armies where they've all got to be perfectly balanced in every situation. Put the ninjas in the right situation and they'll do very well.
And also to just go out there and roll some dice and see what happens. You know?
Yeah, because they're ninjas and they're fun.
Yeah. All right, next question. All right, Derek. So, okay.
Derek says, if you do things cleverly, you can find heraldry that gives you forces that are historically usable for both enemies or allies.
So,
yeah, good point.
Yeah. And then this is not a question, but
Chris says, huge compliments for the overall quality of the cards, not just the artwork and creativity, but the texture and thickness of the cards themselves.
Thank you very much. We should certainly do a shout out to Carmen Serra, who's the artist on Test of Honor, who's just amazing and supports us on Facebook all the time and does sketches new characters all for people, and he's just fantastic. I have to thank him immensely.
Yeah. With his new sketches now, I want to do a whole army of like Yojimbo rabbits.
I know, it's bonkers, but
I got to tell you though, those the samurai animal farm that he's making, it really is something crazy. I think that, well, guys, if you want to ask a question, throw it up in the chat. We'll go to it. Now, Graham, I got to ask you something. I know that let's say you have a set of arrow, Ashigaru, and they get attacked in combat. They drop the arrow, they pull out a dagger, right?
Yeah.
But now here's my counterpoint to that. But the bandits, is it the bandits? I think it's the bandits. They have arrows, but then they also have spear. They have the yari. So
the renegades you're talking
renegades. I'm sorry, yeah. Renegades. Yes. So how come it's not like that? Like with other forces where they could drop the bow, pull the katana out, or something like that. I'm just because I'm at, like, my Ashigaru arrowman got destroyed a few times, but I was like, you know what? I'll just take the renegades, man. It just because they're like they're kind of like the right key for every situation.
Sure. Yeah. They honestly, at the time, we're back in Warlord. We're trying to come up with new ways to sell those plastics.
Right.
When you've got a plastic set, you try and sell it in as many possible ways as you can, because obviously plastics are very expensive to make in the first place, but very cheap for the individual units once you've made that initial mold. So one of the things we came up with was that mixed unit. So it was essentially just a kind of a marketing thing, to be perfectly honest, to come up with a different way to configure your troops and have that mixed unit look.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really led by needing to sell toy soldiers, I'm afraid.
So is there any plans for that in the future? Like maybe like a mixed unit like that, or something like that? Because I know the ninjas have the throwing weapons and they have their regular something, or maybe I know we have the muskets, the heavy muskets, but what about the like a flintlock pistol or something like that? Is that in the works too?
I mean, all kinds of stuff is on the list in the book of ideas. I think pistols were pretty rare, as far as I know, at that time, because obviously the musket technology only arrives halfway through the Sengoku period anyway, and it would have taken a while to reduce the size down and make smaller versions. So I imagine they were coming in towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it would be a cool thing to include, certainly.
I see them like shooting it once, or like once per game you get a shot, and and then now you have to draw your sword or whatever other weapon you have, and because then it wasn't a guy who had just like a pistol. It was like he had a pistol, and then you see those old cool movies where he shoots the pistol, turns it upside down, and then starts hitting people with the butt of it, or I don't know. I'm not.
It's a cool idea, and certainly I wouldn't rule out having a cool model with something like that at some point. Definitely.
Right. Chris has a question.
He says, when do you think we will have Ashigaru with Nagina?
Interesting. Well, I don't know when is the easy answer. I haven't done any of those yet. I think my impression is that wasn't very common, which is why we haven't done any. But certainly there's the Naginata, there's the big heavy clubs and things. There's some of the less common weapons, which you associate more with samurai. At some point, yes, we could do some of those on Ashigaru as well. At the moment, I think you're probably stuck with maybe doing a head swap or something.
I did all my masked men with Naginatas, and what I did was I cut down the spear, and I cut a katana. I could just cut the base off, and I put them together. So, you did that. But also too, there's the smaller. I know in the plastic sets, the smaller spears that are not Naginatas, but we use them as Naginatas.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of like not a Naginata, but not a Yari. I mean, it was a hybrid of that.
Well, they had. I mean, there was lots of subtly different blade weapons. I was looking at it a bit because there was things that were kind of halfway between a sword and a Naginata, where the blade was a big old long blade, but then the handle was as long as the blade, so there was about half blade, half handle. And I think pretty much everything in between. It was this kind of sliding scale from how long the blade is and how long the handle is, and all called something slightly different. So yeah, I think you can counting one thing or something else is perfectly fine if that's what you want. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to do some models at some point, definitely.
Well, I there was a book. I mean, one of the books that I have, it's called Secrets of the Samurai. It was written by Oscar Ratty, and I was lucky because where I was training, my instructors was very good friends with him, and he was an author. He did a few like Aikido books and samurai history books, and I was asking him about this because you'll see one Naginata is 9 foot long, another one is 6 foot long, another a sword and this and that. And he said, you got to remember too that especially in Sengoku period, where the battlefields and everything was going on, there wasn't guys mining or doing that. What they would do is go on the battlefield and just pick stuff up. So after a battle, people would collect swords and armor and things like that. And you see a lot of the armor will have pieces of sword that was broken, and just like the armorer would put them on them. So maybe the Naginata was smaller because at the time they cut a few of the spears that were broken and then put a blade on the end of it. So it comes down to a point where it was resources and turn around and like, all right, I want a spear, but this is what we got, so you're getting this. So practicality. He always said too is there's this look of the samurai that everybody has in their mind, but then you got to think practically. Like I need 20 swords by tomorrow. All right, well I'll just sharpen and fix the ones that I found. Be easier than making a whole new sword. So that makes sense. So
and it's a 150-year period. A lot of stuff. There was a lot of change in that time. So there's going to be a lot of variety with what you see.
Yeah. One guy comes in and says, the handle is this big. I want it this big. And then the guy makes it for him. Another guy says, hey, that's a pretty good idea. And then another guy comes, no, I want them together like this. And then, oh, that's a good idea. It just, there wasn't a cookie cutter way for everything,
Yeah.
Chris asked a question. Okay. Sorry.
Ashigaru scout models have Naginatas. The models don't, no.
All right, let's see. Another question. Boom. Hit it.
Chris says he kit bashed the Yari plastics with the samurai plastics, but Naginatas on Yaris for the veteran Ashigaru.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you gotta do. You gotta model it up, brother.
Yeah.
All right, what else? There are a bunch of guys just throwing in things. That's my plan with the old war band. Yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to build everything, man. Just I look at it this way. I just build it all up, and then it's like, a bunch of guys with naginatas, a bunch of guys with yari, a bunch of guys with muskets, a bunch of guys with bows and arrows, and then from there you just pick your force. It makes it easier that way.
Yeah.
So, guys, any more questions? Let's see. What is this? Planning to get scouts and unlikely allies. Got to get what I built in Prime first. All right, so now you know that everything is touched by Graham. So, if you're going to get it, you get it from the man himself, which is actually pretty cool. So, anyone else have any questions? Do you have any questions?
I think I'm good. I asked my musket questions.
Yes, that was the biggest thing. All right, so spoilers? Any spoilers? Nothing. You've basically spoiled everything already.
Oh yeah, I've given away all my Test of Honor secrets to you already, I think.
Okay. But does anyone else? No, I'm good, man. I've asked everything I want. I honestly could say, just not by having you here, but if anybody's been on our channel, you've seen that we really do like Test of Honor as one of our favorite games, and also Sengoku book was a really very nice addition, and it's a very flawless transition into what had to happen. It wasn't. I mean this in the way it's not an earth-shattering thing where, oh my God, it's a new game. It's just like, oh, this is very cool. We could do this. Oh, this is in addition to what's going on. So, we really like the way you went about the book. It was really well thought out. Andrew's going into design. Any tips or anything like that
for the
Sengoku book? I'll hold it up for advertising purposes.
As me getting into design, I just looking through the book, I'm like, oh, I like how it looks. Like that's kind of like how I look at everything now. I'm kind of like, I look at it and I'm like, oh, I like how that looks, or I like how this looks. So it's a well put together book. Same thing with the first with the regular rule book. It's just a nicely done rule book. But
Thank you.
It was, but yeah, I'll tell you what, Graham, just keep making more Test of Honor stuff. Chris has a good point here. He just says, please take my money. So, and that's it, So Chris says, thanks for hosting this. You're welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we've been playing a lot more Test of Honor for this month, putting out the battle reports and whatnot. And it's just been a blast. It's a really good game. I mean, it's solid. We really do like, we really do love this game. I don't know if that's come across, and we're not just saying it because you're here. We're being honest.
Excellent.
I mean, we kiss your ass a little bit because we really do like it. But other than that, it's it's great. So I'm glad that there's, it's not coming out too much. You're coming out in an acceptable way where it's like, you don't have to buy $1,000 worth of units just to make the game. You can buy another set of, let's say, like when I got the Unlikely Allies, it just added very much a lot of flavor to the game, but not so much where I had to worry about it. But it was enough to change some things around for me, and you know what I mean? It's just it's good like that too, because skirmish level game like this. But now that I've gotten all the sets, we could really make. Still make a skirmish game, but a long 3-4 hour game. So,
yeah, if you want to go big, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but again, I don't know, Graham. You want to put your plugs in where everybody can see you? I know most of the people can know where you are, but is anything you want to push? Go ahead. You're more than welcome.
Well, obviously look out for new stuff coming. I'm working on a new game, which I'm not going to talk too much about, but look out for, there'll be more news about that coming soon. So that's very exciting. So yeah, well, just thanks for having me. I'm really glad you're enjoying the game. It's just I think one of the big things with running the company on my own is it's just really great to have feedback and hear about people enjoying the game. It's just I can feed on that, and it's fantastic to hear the good vibes coming in.
Right. Well, Graham, this has been an absolute pleasure for both of us. I mean, we should definitely do it again. We'll catch up maybe after a bunch of sets come out, and then we can we'll do it again. We'd love to have you on again. I mean, this was great. And for those of you guys who caught it live, we really do appreciate it. We had a bunch of people watching, and then this will go right on to Family of Gamers. So if you missed it or you want to go back and, Graham promised you something, you could always go back and say, oh, look, he said this and it never came out or whatever. So, but yep. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And you want to do the canned ending of our fun?
Well, guys, like the video if you liked it. Comment down below if you're seeing this after it's posted. Yeah, guys, subscribe for more Test of Honor stuff on the channel, because we will obviously be having more stuff coming out for Test of Honor month, and also after Test of Honor month also, obviously. And yeah, guys, so we'll see you in the next one.
Graham, you got a point. That's our thing. Boom.
Where's the camera? There's the camera.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Graham.